The Dodgers continue having one of their best off seasons ever as they have now re-upped one of their star players, one of their heroes from the 2024 World Series run. I'm here to tell you all about it. Hey, this is Mike Nelson of Dodgers Digest. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I want to thank the 12% of the ones that are watching these videos who have already hit the sub button, but 87% of you have not subscribed yet. Make sure you subscribe. Myself, Brad J, we're bringing you everyday Dodger content. We have a goal of reaching 6,000 subscribers by the time the Thanksgiving weekend is up. So let's help us out. Hit the sub button. Help a couple cool Dodger fans out. If you're just a fan of baseball, we got, there's no other channel like us. We're the best Dodger channel out there. Let's get right into it. Of course, Tommy Edman has signed a 5-year contract with the Dodgers. We reported on this channel in the last few weeks or so that a long-term extension was definitely in the cards for Tommy Edman. The Dodgers and Tommy Edman had been discussing, a long-term deal to try to keep Tommy Edman here after the great, second half of the 2024 season that he had with the Dodgers, right? Because let's not forget, Tommy Edman was one of those late additions at the trade deadline that, of course, ended up proving to be extremely important. Tommy Edman has agreed to a 5-year contract, $74 million, a $17 million signing bonus. Seems like a pretty good bargain to me. The contract runs from 2025 to 29 with a club option for 2030. As we know, Tommy Edman was the NLCS MVP. This guy literally got the MVP in the NLCS against New York Mets. It was a historic playoff series for Tommy Edman. Nobody saw that coming, right? I mean, a guy that bats, late in the lineup, that was kind of inserted on an everyday basis after the Rojas injury, and ended up proving to be one of the biggest moments for sure for the Dodgers, right? Because Tommy Edman ended up being just that extra offense that they just weren't quite getting against the San Diego Padres in the first round late in the lineup, right? And that ended up proving to be very important in that series. Tommy Edman, as I spoke about, he came in a big trade, as we know, back in July, 3-team trade involving the White Sox and Cardinals. And Dodgers, of course, got Michael Kopech, the reliever, and Tommy Edman, and both of those guys ended up being very important for the Dodgers. And it's just great to see the Dodgers, kind of doing what they, doing their due diligence and signing the right players on long-term contracts, players that were important for the Dodgers. Let's be honest, Tommy Edman was a MVP for the Dodgers, right? He was an MVP in the playoffs. He played very well. Let's not forget how Tommy Edman played late in the regular season. Remember those home runs he had against the Padres in that very important regular season series in the last week of the 2024 regular season? We cannot forget Tommy Edman's contribution to the team as they were trying to, of course, wrap up the National League West in a very tight race down the stretch. Tommy Edman was very important for the Dodgers late in that season, right? So it's good to see the Dodgers kind of lock up a player. 5 years seems like a bargain price to me. Comment below. What do you guys think? You think this is a bargain deal for the Dodgers? 5 years, $74 million. I mean, this guy could have got $100 million, right, on another team. So he kind of took a hometown discount, if you ask me. Of course, there is, that signing bonus. A lot of teams can't just give out $17 million, but the Dodgers basically do have that kind of money to give up front, and that, of course, helps you make deals. Just go over a little bit of what Tommy Edman did last year. 6 home runs, 20 runs batted in. It was a great season, to say the least, for Tommy Edman. And this is a season that Tommy Edman was injured to start off. Let's not forget, Tommy Edman did not play a single inning of baseball for the Cardinals in 2024, right? And there was a lot of question marks. I remember when the trade happened, back in July, there was even some Dodger fans questioning whether this was the right deal for the Dodgers, getting a player that had not played the entire 2024 regular season to come join the Dodgers. At the time, it was questionable, but at the same time, you saw the potential that Tommy Edman could bring. And, you knew that, there was obviously, the Dodgers knew that Tommy Edman was going to get healthy. It wasn't a question of if he was going to play. It was more like when he was going to play, right? That's what the Dodgers kind of knew when they picked up Tommy Edman in that trade back in July. It was just a question of when he could play. And when he did play, he was great, right? Especially, he did struggle a little bit offensively, I think, at first. But think about it. He ended up having 6 home runs in, what is that? Think about it, less than 2 months, right? Which was kind of a shocking stat for a player that doesn't usually hit the home run ball. But he was clutch for the Dodgers that last week, especially in the regular season. And it ended up continuing in the NLCS, where he ends up getting MVP, just historic. And I'm surprised that the Dodgers, were, there could have been a situation where Tommy Edman, kind of like the situation around with Teoscar Hernández, where Hernandez is, kind of testing the free agent market, and there's a lot of question marks whether the Dodgers can put together, there's hope, there's mutual interest on both sides, but there's still somewhat of a barrier for the Dodgers in kind of confirming that deal, right? With Tommy Edman, it seemed like right from the get-go, Tommy Edman had decided that he was going to want to play for the Dodgers, next season. Of course, he was under contract. Let's not forget, that's what kind of helps things out, right? He still was under contract for 25. Technically, was not a free agent, going into the 25 season. He still was under contract, which kind of alleviates the pressure on both sides, right? When a player's under contract, it's not like Teoscar Hernández, he has no contract for next year. Walker Buehler, he got no contract for next year. Jack Flaherty, he doesn't have any contracts either. No contract for him next year. So those guys are true free agents. Tommy Edman, was under contract, right? So this guy could have potentially said, you know what, I'm going to play out next year, and then I'm going to try to get $100 million next year, right? That could have potentially happened with Tommy Edman. He could have played out next year. He could have had a great year, and then could have said, you know what, I think $75 million, which you guys were offering me last year, kind of came short to what I want now, right? I want at least $100 million. I think Tommy Edman is a $100 million player, especially after the playoffs that he had. He showed that this guy is a real deal. It's the first time we really saw Tommy Edman play in some meaningful baseball games. As we know, the Cardinals have had a rough patch the last few years, and they haven't really done much in the playoffs, right? So Tommy Edman kind of got his first time to shine in a national stage, and he did a great job, right? Ended up winning the World Series with the Dodgers in his first year with the team. Kind of like Teoscar Hernandez, right? The first year of the Dodgers ends up getting the World Series. So, yeah, there's going to be 5 more years of Tommy Edman. It's great to see. I think it's a bargain deal because this guy could have an even better year next year. And, well, he's already signed up. So, very luckily, the Dodgers were able to work out a contract for him. They got that out of the way. They didn't want to go into 26 and him becoming a free agent. But I know the rest of baseball out there is probably let's just say they're not very happy the Dodgers have signed yet another player to help this arsenal and, help them go back-to-back in 25, because that's definitely the goal. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Dodgers.